Booyah! I almost forgot about that mute right there real quick. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel, everybody.
Hello all. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's having a good Sunday. You doing well, Stormy?
I'm doing quite well. Quite well.
Good.
Back from vacation, had a great time. Sorry I missed you in California.
Not a worry in the world. We were Yosemiteing it up, which was awesome.
You were in Yosemite? Shit, man.
Yeah, my niece saw snow for the first time. It was a great little week.
Well, we were in the same neighborhood. I thought you were going to be in like LA the whole time. So
no.
Yeah, well, we were, Monterey and Pinnacles, and went around to John Muir's house, and then went around to Avenue of the Giants, and then Redwood National Park, and then over to Lassen, and then back down, and we probably passed each other on I-5 at some point. Oh well.
We talked about it enough. Forgot to mention the crucial detail.
The only thing we got down to, we'll be in California, which is not really narrowing it down.
Press the blue button, by the way. Icarus is here. No, wait. Don't touch any buttons. Oh, wait. Before we jump into this, because I know we're just kind of hanging out today. We got some Creature Commandos and some Skeleton Crew to talk about. Some good TV, which is nice. But it's Christmas time. So Merry Christmas, everybody, also.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I think we're replacing old Danny Gandalf for today with
Danny Elrond.
There we go, Danny. I was trying to come up with a little nickname immediately. Danny Rond. El
DeVito.
El Vito. There we go.
Now I want some nachos.
Hey, that doesn't sound too bad either, realistically. Okay, well, I think the one thing that we both watched this week was Skeleton Crew, huh?
I did a bunch of Skeleton Crew. I started watching The Stand, watched some other stuff.
Skeleton Crew down?
The first two episodes.
Okay, cool.
When's the next episode drop? It's like Tuesday.
They dropped them at midnight on Monday, but I think they're going to be Tuesdays at 6 p.m. or something like that.
Okay.
Or 7 p.m., I guess. 7 p.m. your time. Did you enjoy it? What did you get from it? What was your excitement level?
Okay, so first of all, it's a kid show. It's not SpongeBob SquarePants, but it's a kid show. It's for kids. And even with that, it was incredibly engaging, I thought. Because you're seeing everything from the kid's point of view, not the adult point of view. And it really gets into the whole space pirate mythology of Star Wars, which you really haven't seen that before in that kind of intensity. And I just thought I just had a really good time watching. I was looking forward to the second episode. And then yum that right up.
Did the first episode grip you a bunch, or did you need the second episode?
It just seemed like something was amiss, until the two girls came in, the badasses with their badass hover bike. I think when they got into it, then it's like, okay, now we got some drama going. Otherwise, there's backstory. It's a single parent family. I guess the main kid, he's got attention deficit disorder or something, because he just can't get click with school. His mind drifts, and he's thinking about the stars and all that. And I can't remember the species, but the little kid that's an elephant or elephant-ish.
It's a new species, yeah, because it's not the same one as Max Rebo, but it's a different one.
Is Max Rebo the one that plays the piano in the bar?
The little blue guy.
I thought it was the same species, but I may be wrong.
They did that on purpose. I think it was John Watts, the guy that's like the showrunner for it all. He was talking about how they wanted it to look like Max Rebo, but not be Max Rebo. Almost, I think the way he was talking about it was almost Neil the Little Elephant. Honestly, best name for an elephant, too.
That was right. Love the shit out of that kid.
It was kind of, I feel like, how the Old Republic was removed from for a while, where I guess Atten is removed from the actual New Republic or the Republic in general for a while, where they're kind of stuck in their own time way back when. My guess is, and kind of the way I feel like he was talking about it, maybe I'm just putting words in his mouth, hopefully not, but it seemed like almost maybe they shared a parent species and like kind of one evolved specifically on like this single island kind of deal alongside people, and the other became Max Rebo species. Not entirely sure. Could just be guesstimating there, but that's my little headcanon so far.
It could be, yeah. I mean, but anyway, he was just, you know what it reminded me of? The whole thing reminded me of the Goonies.
That's what they kept saying. They said they wanted to make it feel like Amblin entertainment as possible. And
I guess around the end of the second episode, I said, "Geez, this is like a sequel to the Goonies, but not." I mean, it was just again, it's a kids show, but I really did like it. And certainly I'm not the demographic for the Goonies, but I love the shit out of
it. Did you like the Goonies when it came out back in the day?
Oh hell yeah!
Oh good.
Oh hell yeah!
Because there are some people. It's not like I can see why people wouldn't consider it a good movie, but it's such a good movie at the same time. It is inherently. I love it. And legit, like Brogu's saying, this Brogu is hilarious, by the way. There's a Space Goonies type of show. Goonies has been used as a
ship, and
Treasure Island as well. I feel like it's Goonies meets Treasure Island meets. I don't necessarily know the specific IP or story to tell, but like Blackbeard and all that kind of like just general pirate history. There's some other stuff as well. Because the dude that is the werewolf guy is totally Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Taking over from the last captain, kind of being a little more mean and green, you might say. But
and there's also a lot of parallels to Star Trek Prodigy, I thought. I mean, without the holograms, but the protective broken droid. Captain, are you the captain? I'm looking. That was like. Well, that's like Janeway, but drunk.
Oh, King Valus Felix. Valus Felix. Me. That is right in front of our faces, and I didn't see it. Good eye, man. Good eye. Valus
Felix. He wins all the awards today.
At 2?
Oh, yeah, is equal or greater than Brutus.
Okay, I can see that. So far, it tickled my fancy. The first episode almost didn't do it for me. I feel like they had to get off that planet, and that was what hooked me. The first episode, I think, was perfect kind of layup, perfect setup, all that, et cetera, but it didn't like pull me in. It excited the hell out of me, but it didn't just. There was a little something. And then you add the pirates into the mix in the second episode, and it's there. It's just
and then they're all from this mystery planet, at Atten. Is it at Atten or an Atten?
At Atten.
At Atten. Okay, so I didn't have captions on, but so what's up with that planet? I mean, it's
the capital. I mean,
it's like once again, somebody has hidden the whole planet. I mean, it's just.
I think
are they going to be making droids there? I mean, is this going to be a clone army base, for manufacturing? Whenever some planet goes missing, shit's up.
Well, actually, though, at Atten's the Old Republic capital, so it's the capital of like way, way back when.
I did not know that.
So I'm intrigued as hell in the sense that I know James Mangold is doing the start of the Jedi. I don't know if that's including the Old Republic. It's probably even further back than that, but I think this series could bridge the gap and lead into the ability for Lucasfilm to make new shows, I guess, and put them in a different era, in that Old Republic era or something like that. Because I guess High Republic is still just Acolyte no one's going to watch another High Republic show without a very critical goggle on, which sucks, but also Acolyte should have been written better in that way. People wouldn't be thinking like that, but whatever. Different day, different topic. Old Republic is still like completely untouched in that sense, and is this kind of prime spot to be played in. And Atten, I think, is setting us up perfectly, because if we see it right now, that means they already have, the textures for the world. They know the way the world wants to look like. Now they have to kind of do, okay, well, let's play in 18th century New York or 19th century New York or something like that. So we just age it back a little bit. We have Atten now. Just age it back a little bit. And that way we could get that Old Republic stuff, which would be really cool. And I think it's setting up new stuff, because obviously this is going to tie in with The Mandalorian with that one pirate from season 3, which the pirate stuff of season 3 might have been a little bit of the best stuff too. Because you remember the one guy that starts talking to the 2 kids and asking them about the Republic credits after the chef in the second episode there. He's the guy the lone survivor of the pirates in that season 3 episode of The Mandalorian. So it's kind of bridging the new and the old. And carving a unique space for itself as well, which is really neat to see. I've loved every second of it, realistically.
I mean, and the thing that really, just gets me down is, we have something that is so substandard as the Acolyte, right? And then we get something like Skeleton Crew.
Yeah,
before that, it was Mandalorian. It's just like they can't keep an even flow. It's like there's lots of highs and there's lots of lows. And I think, and we discussed this earlier, I think, Acolyte would have been okay, but the thing is, we are so used to, for a Star Wars story, it's got to be huge, it's got to be epic. And even though this was okay, we're so addicted to the tremendously epic that when something okay comes along, it seems like it's horrible. But we've just been, and for some reason, I mean, okay, so Acolyte, Jedi goes bad. How many Jedi were? I mean, it's just okay. Jedi goes bad. Darth Vader was a Jedi that went bad. This guy was just, I don't know, shoplifting Skittles or something on that kind of. I mean, it was just, he didn't do well, but he was not bad Jedi like Anakin was bad Jedi. If we're going to have a bad Jedi, it better be Anakin worthy, and it wasn't.
Well, that's the weird thing with Acolyte. He's not even the bad Jedi. Technically, it's Vernestra, and she let her Padawan go out and do all this crazy stuff. But anyway, that's
murky bad Jedi. We don't know who the bad Jedi is. It was so murky.
It's also weird that Acolyte has by far the coolest concept out of all of them. Boba Fett has the one of the coolest concepts as well. Obi-Wan Kenobi had one of the coolest concepts of a show as well. And I feel like Mando and Skeleton Crew and maybe Rebels and some of the animated shows are all a little more quote unquote cookie cutter. They don't have the cooler concepts. Like, okay, we've seen pirates in Star Wars. Like, cool. Oh, okay, we've seen kids in Star Wars. Like Skeleton Crew. That's, I think, why we've been so kind of like milquetoast about it forever. Like the entire, no one's really cared about it until the last week or two. And thankfully it's badass and it is actually hitting the right way. But, it's kind of been a nothing burger for a long time. And I think that's kind of part of it. It doesn't have some cool concept. Acolyte and those other shows, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan specifically, just those 3 examples, had, okay, we've got the Godfather in space. We've got friggin' Obi-Wan back. We know his story. He's not supposed to leave that planet. What kind of cool mission is he going to go on? And what is it going to have? What's going to have to come into play with Darth Vader and Anakin that entails in the story? Just the concepts that were there were awesome. And it kind of just sputters out with the cooler concepts when, you're more cookie cutter things. And, Goonies in space to make it Star Wars is something that hasn't technically happened yet, but it's kind of always been there to some degree.
Right.
So,
well, here's about a lot of these IPs and these sub franchises in Star Wars is like the Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I loved about the Book of Boba Fett was the backstory of the Sand People. So it should have been about the Sand People with Boba Fett and kind of his origin story. Because the Sand People, that was the most interesting thing of that whole season, was the Sand People. And yeah, Mando comes along, and there's some other side story, but because day one, back when episode 4 came out, these sand people, who are they? I mean, why are they so pissed off? Why do they travel in single file? Why do they hide their number? I mean, why was all this? And we finally had to get the Book of Boba Fett to understand that these people were robbed. I mean, the huts, they're sitting on stolen land. And somehow that's a very familiar American story, and then like Solo, the movie, the Star Wars story Solo.
Yeah,
it should have been like labeled Chewie. That should have been the title, because I got more out of Chewie. I mean, we know a lot about Han Solo. There's tons of books, and but there wasn't a lot about
They didn't use
flashes of, huh?
They didn't use many of those books for the movie.
No.
Although I did enjoy the movie, they didn't borrow much from any of them.
Right. And I do think, but that was the interesting thing is Chewie's origin story. He was in an Imperial camp, and we had no idea that was that was the thing. So that was the interesting part of that.
Oh, yeah.
And so then we come across Acolyte, and there's all this build up about the twins and blah 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 blah. But if it was titled, the birth of Darth Plagueis, that would have been at least it would change the mood, and you kind of know. And then you start seeing the tie-ins. I mean, the origin story of Darth Plagueis is gotta be much more interesting than the stories of the twins.
And if you're gonna do that, you gotta
and a murky
Jedi
criminal.
Yeah, I still really like. I think everything. I think I like the Acolyte a whole lot on paper. Just just ended up not being. The execution wasn't on par. It was subpar compared to the idea, which tends to happen with a lot of things. Sci-fi, that can happen, sadly, pretty easily, and we like to watch.
It's like with social media the way it is. I don't know if the original Star Trek could even make it
nowadays. Well,
nowadays. I mean, it's just like pointy-eared guy. Logistician.
What do you have a cordyceps growing out of your head?
Well, it's really kind of a mangled mitochondria, don't you think so? Or maybe it's precancerous, something DNA that's been torn apart. I have no idea.
The Last of Us actually starts on Christmas. You didn't know. Zombie apocalypse or whatever they call them, because I don't know. I forget what they call them in Last of Us, but they're not zombies.
Shroom's gone bad.
But I guess back to Skeleton Crew a little bit.
Oh yeah,
it's hitting every note. I feel like that it needs to hit. Do you think? Because from just strictly a show standpoint, I feel like I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about it yet. I feel like everyone's pretty on par. Where this might not be Spielberg doing Star Wars, but it kind of feels about right next door to what that would feel like.
Kind of does.
Especially just
I'd like to see him draft up something, and just Disney just let him run with it.
Please, Spielberg Star Wars would, I think, fulfill a universal dream of a good chunk of the world.
Right.
But with the looming kind of thing about Lucasfilm just being in the state it's been in for a while, and everything we just talked about, Acolyte included, and all the animation's been doing fairly well. Visions are always really freaking cool, but nonetheless, there's that looming kind of dark cloud that's been over Lucasfilm. Do you think this is light at the end of the tunnel? Oh wait, there's not even an end of there's an end of the tunnel, and there's a whole bunch of cool stuff on the other side. We were just in a tunnel, and it's time to get out of here. Is that?
For me, I kind of feel that the Star Wars franchise, the Star Wars universe, light at the end of the tunnel. If they, if Disney sells it, I don't know, to Paramount, that would be the end of the tunnel, and there wouldn't be any light there. But like I said, I don't know if it's the end of the tunnel or just the beginning of the next cycle. It's got, it's just like they're hitting these highs, hitting these lows, hitting these highs, hitting these lows. And I think they're in a cycle, and I don't know how to fix it. I mean, that's definitely a Kathleen Kennedy issue, and I don't know if we've seen any evidence where that will change.
Well, okay, I'm trying to think.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to think about timelines for filming, because this was filmed 2 years ago. So I guess that's almost part of that question is when did all this happen? Because I think Acolyte, I believe it started filming first, because it started filming, I guess, during COVID, or maybe it was worked on during then. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, could COVID just be like a factor in all of this, and we just got to get through the COVID season of production?
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking is maybe if Acolyte got into production first, of course it had reshoots before it came out, and that was probably the most recent live-action shooting outside of Mando and Grogu. But if Skeleton Crew was the most recent live-action thing before Mando and Grogu, like full project-wise, and Mando and Grogu is a purposeful pivot from television to the film kind of basis again.
Yeah.
Is that a good herald? Like we have, like this is, I'd say the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew were on par with the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian, which were great episodes, I
would say first episode Mandalorian was
better than the first episode of Skeleton, maybe.
Yes, I mean, because I was immediately engaged.
Mm-hmm.
The thing living under the ice almost took the Razor Crest out. And we really got right to the heart of the Baby Yoda. The Grogu story, and I don't think we've gotten there yet. I mean, I think a lot of the exposition for what's going on will arrive with Jude Law, being having more of a center facing role. I mean, I think he's going to carry it. I think Jude Law is going to carry the show, but you really had to build the backstory. You had to get the kids off world of this another secret planet kind of thing. And then we'll see, I think then we'll get a good feeling of where we are in the Mando comparison chart.
Mm-hmm.
But, Jude Law is no slouch. Just want to say, if he keeps it up, he's going to make something of himself one day. You know what I mean? I mean, he's got a fantastic, sci-fi pedigree. I love him in Attica. Loved him in AI, and I love him in everything. He's just really.
And he's worked with a good chunk of the directors, particularly David Lowery, who introduced him to this. In the second episode.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, David Lowery. He played. Jude Law played. I almost said Professor Hook. I've been watching too many things with professors in them. Falling Skies. Which is so damn good. I've been watching a lot of Falling Skies since the Colin interview, and it's so good. I'm in season 4 now, and I'm just having a blast with it. Every time Colin's on screen, I'm like, I know him. Do something cool, And half the time he does, so it's really entertaining.
Right.
Oh my God! Fallen. What was I saying? I'm not. A brain fart. My ADD is so bad.
You were fangirling over Fallen Sky, and you were
and David Lowery and Jude Law working with everybody. He worked with David Lowery as not Professor Hook, but Captain Hook in Hook, the newest Peter Pan movie, which I don't think got like the best reviews or anything. But David Lowery, that's not his typical movie. That's get $1 with Disney for a minute, But once again, pirate story, Jude Law as pirate. Kids all around in the Peter Pan world. David Lowery directed. Bring it kind of forth. It just feels like the purposeful spiritual successor, which John Watts says he did do on purpose. But for the freaking Daniels and everybody else to be there, I could gush about the directing team the entire time. But with that amount of talent added on to Jude Law's talent, and even though that first episode was more kid focused and yada yada, I still think those kids are pretty darn good actors. And if they're going to have someone like Jude Law to bounce off of and to like grow as actors off of, plus the directing slate, they're good.
I mean, these kids, they are really good. And it is clear that once Jude Law gets done with them, and Lowry gets done with them, they don't need to go to film school. I'm just saying they do not need to go to film school.
They're going through film school right now.
Yeah, they're going through, and they're and probably by the time this is all over with, they will have grad credits. I mean they are they're all the 4 kids are really, really good, and even with the heavy prosthesis of Neil, the elephant kid, just
whoever the kid is. I mean, it's hard to act under all that stuff. They're essentially doing the same thing that Brendan Wayne and Pedro Pascal have to do with The Mandalorian. You're acting under a bunch of stuff. No emotions. That comes with CGI later.
Right.
You're not moving the trigger.
And you have to understand that the CGI that they're tracking the kids' emotions, so they have some sort of baseline of what to do with the CGI prosthesis. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just like I said, it reminded me of the Goonies, which I really did enjoy. And I think it's only going to get better. It's like Andor. Everyone was like, we were
or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the first episode, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, it's Andor. You've got to see this. Sit on the couch and read and watch it.
And everyone that is not saying that hasn't made it past the 3rd episode. Still, it's like, come on, just watch it, y'all. Like, I get it. It's not lightsabers in the Force, but and I get it. The AK-47 out there that instead of an actual blaster pistol or something, all right, it takes you out of it a little bit if you see something that looks that much like an in-world thing.
Right.
Come on, it's what? It's not taking me out of it at Atten, seeing streets in Star Wars and seeing people drive cars down the streets, thankfully, because that could have definitely taken you out of it. But
right,
it still feels like a part of the world,
And
oops, I will eventually, Mark. After the Star Treks, oops.
And it reminded me of the so the people that's haven't gotten past episode 3 of Andor, they never get that final kind of the final speech, I don't get to go home. I've sacrificed all of this, and it is like, God, that was good. That was, talking about his sacrifice, and have we ever seen that kind of a monologue in Star Wars before?
One. It was Luthen Rael about an episode before that. Whenever he's given his why do you fight? Why are you a spy? Why do you do this to the guy down in the subsection?
Oh no, that's the speech. That's the speech.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about. I thought you were talking about his mom and his mom at the end of it. Okay.
Not the hologram speech by his mom. Okay. Now, this is the one.
That's number 1.
And it was, and I've just never seen anything like that. Really, I haven't seen anything like that in a lot. It's rare you see that. In film itself. I mean, not just Star Wars, but the beginning of the movie Patton, you get that, yep. Standing in front of that ginormous American flag. That was a good prequel monologue, but he just kind of wraps it up, and it was just, oh man.
One Way Out. So good.
Yeah, One Way Out.
And he's not just talking about the prison. I mean, he's talking to Luthen Rael. Across the galaxy in that.
Right.
So good. And Andy Serkis. Oh, Stellan Skarsgård. Okay, Diego Luna and the rest of the supporting cast. I forget her name that plays Mon Mothma and all the other people in there.
Right.
Good. They didn't tell us that Andy Serkis was going to be in that series. If you would have just said
Andy program.
Oh. Just say Andy Serkis, Stellan Skarsgård, Star Wars. I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah.
It was perfect. I adore Andor. I really think it's the Rebels might be my might be the thing that's the most personal to me, Star Wars wise, and I really think it like probably. If I had to put it, it might be my favorite Star Wars overall. If I'm choosing a film, it's probably Return of the Jedi, Empire, or Rogue One, just depending on the day. So just all of that together, I feel like it just Andor. While it doesn't have that Force sensitive stuff, it doesn't have your lightsabers. It is so inherently Star Wars. It's not even funny, and I think it's a disservice to the IP for all the people that are like, oh, it's not Star Wars. It doesn't have any of like the staples of Star Wars. This is a big world, big galaxy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
I mean, Skarsgård, he stole every damn scene he was in. You know? Him and Diego, that scene where their first meeting, that was really, it was pensive. It was, like, oh my God, what's going on?
You could cut the air with a knife right there.
Yeah.
Slit it open with the tension that was there. It was so good.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to read Luthen's monologue. After he's asked, what have you sacrificed?
I'm down.
If you don't mind. So he goes, I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight. They've set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost. From the time I looked down, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I will never see. And the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything. And my mouth was slack-jawed. That's one hell of a monologue. It is just, and he owned it.
The delivery is,
yeah.
Gut-wrenching.
So, it starts out like everyone's bitching about, Andor, it doesn't, and they end up with that by, episode 10? And that comes, just shut the fuck up and just watch episode 4, you mindless worm. God. And so, Skeleton Crew is going to be like the insert everything. So I think Skeleton Crew is going to kind of end up like this. It's we know we've already been captured, and we know it's a kid's show, but it's going to be one hell of a kid's show. And there's going to be like, fifth graders, next year, when they get back after winter break, trying to do Jedi mind tricks on their teeth. I swear to God, man.
For the kids in the show itself to be, okay, well, we've been removed so long ago, Jedi aren't a thing on our planet anymore, but we have this history, this story of, so we're going to go to school and fight like Jedi on the way there is perfect. It's perfect. And I think it goes to show the type of storytelling we're getting from it, like that Spielbergian Star Wars kind of deal. I really do get the complaint about Andor, and even I guess people are going to say it about Skeleton Crew as well, that it might not feel inherently Star Wars, but Star Wars is Star Wars. It is inherently what it is already. It has so much room to grow. This is a natural growth for it, and it's bringing us better, not content, but better projects. Like we're getting, at least with the Skeleton Crew and with Andor, whenever you get the right team behind it, we're getting better projects, and these are going to stand the test of time. Skeleton Crew and Andor are going to be in the conversation with the films. They're not in conversation like Mando might even die off at a certain point. I don't know, because it's going to be included with films and stuff as well. But we might not be hearing about the Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett show anytime soon, or Acolyte show, or and as much as I adore all the animated shows, you don't hear that much about them outside of like niche circles. You're not your general talking points. Andor and Skeleton Crew can be.
There was an interview with George Lucas, and this has got to be the late 70s. So a lot of forgive me if this is not accurate or 100% on verbatim, but I remember in the interview they were asking about, it was kind of common knowledge by that point that there was a lot of money to be made in Star Wars, and there's Hasbro running. Every kid had to have every action figure, and they knew that this may have been like when it was theorized that Lucas was going to end up being a billionaire just because of all the rights to just the toys. And they said, I mean, you have all these, but they're not talking about the toys mostly, but they're talking about the books and at that point the comic books and like there was some really good books like Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or read it.
Got it upstairs.
Okay, so you know what I mean. There was lots of these stories, and they were saying, are you just milking it to death? And he said it's a universe of different species, and every person has their own story. And he started talking about filmmaking in general. Said every person has a story, and in the Star Wars universe, every creature has a story. It may be love stories, they may be comedies, they may be like a war film. Like definitely, a Return of the Jedi was a war film.
Yeah, somehow a little bit of both. Yeah.
And then he talked about Bridge over River Kwai. He said there's in that camp there's 1,000 stories, but we saw the point of view of one person. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that have not watched Bridge over River Kwai, it was made on something called celluloid film. So find it wherever and go watch it. An excellent movie. But those movies. Bridge over River Kwai is something that Lucas grew up, And who was the main actor in Bridge over River Kwai? Who was it?
It is. Google will let me know very quickly here. I should know that off the top of my head. It's not Heston. It's not. Oh, it's Alec Guinness. Duh.
Well, dude, it's like 50 years before your time. Don't sweat it. but that's one reason. He's talking about Alec Guinness, and he's like referencing Gallison's earlier work, and so yeah, Alec Guinness. So anyway, it's the same thing with the Star Wars universe. There, I know we all want expect the action movie, but. Mm. We haven't seen really the buddy cop movie. We haven't seen a total love story. We haven't seen, a comedy. And I think Star Trek has made more progress toward those, genres. Lower Decks, total comedy,
Which looks really good. I do want to watch.
Yeah. So, but so we haven't even scratched the surface of the Star Wars universe, and two slaves, trying to escape, indentured servitude, on Tatooine or wherever. Maybe it might look like Papillon at the end of the day, but there's those stories and they all exist, and there's trillions of them. It's just
so many more to tell.
So many more to tell.
Too. The world itself is so interesting that you can tell any of these stories and have them be cool and interesting and have good moments in them that would actually make a decent story in and of itself. I feel like everything we've ever seen in Star Wars up to this point is interesting and could be made interesting, which is beautiful. It's kind of nice,
Oh, exactly.
Star Wars is this the holiday special comedy? Well, hey, speaking of the holiday special, y'all saw in Skeleton Crew that they I guess it was already canonized, but they had the holiday special going in the holodeck in one of the first scenes in the first episode. Or is it the second? Whatever. One of the first episodes. And it was fun to see. That, and then I didn't realize it because I was not, I guess, aware of it. But one of our buddies that we play cards with all the time, He said he made us watch it. He said you have to go watch Captain EO because Captain EO is now technically canon within Star Wars. Did you ever see Captain EO, the Michael Jackson, like, not Muppet song, but kind of like sci-fi Disney song?
Yes, man, but it was that the 80s or 90s?
I think it was 90s, early 90s, mid
It
90s.
was a bit ago. It was a bit ago.
So I had no idea what it was, but the little bass player, I did drums. The bass player and the little like creature that's the bass player in Captain EO, the movie / song, it is now in Skeleton Crew. So my buddy was saying his little headcanon is that Wim, the little boy in Skeleton Crew, grows into Captain EO one day, which would be fun. But I don't know. I just like the idea that, these filmmakers are adding kind of special things that are kind of Spielbergian in some senses and very Disney in other senses in there. Just giving us nods.
Right. Well, I'm kind of disappointed that Ahsoka is second season and that's it. I mean.
Well, not necessarily.
Really?
Hopefully, they said they said most likely it'll be. They're setting it up where they can either end it there and continue it throughout other TV shows and movies, maybe, or that they can continue it in another season. But it just needs better viewers. It just didn't get the viewership that it was supposed to get, that they thought it would get, etc.
I mean, how is that possible? I mean, it was rock and roll. Okay, so the yes, Tim, I have a hat on. So anyway, the Night Sisters of what was it? Dathomir. Years ago on Tumblr, I saw this meme, bitching at Lucas for just giving us the story of Skywalker, right? And they said, here's this, and they had a picture from, I think, one of the book covers. Here's this coven of witches that raises the dead and does all this stuff. When are we going to see them? Oh, and I think they were all lesbians, so that's probably why it's on Tumblr and so popular. And when are we going to see this? And we finally got it, and it was badass. Again, Ahsoka, right? But the killer thing was these Night Sisters. This should have been the Night Sisters, and but hey, we get what we get, but yeah, I could see a whole spin-off from them.
Well, have you seen the Night Sister stuff from the Clone Wars, the TV show?
Yes, I have seen that, and it's
some of the best stuff there is. Oh, I love me some little witchy kind of voodoo kind of stuff. Just grew up near Louisiana and all that. That just tickles my fancy. I love all that.
Oh, someone's going to do your roots, dude.
They're on
you.
Oof. The Night Sisters, which, we don't need to jump on it, but like, you have good witches. Like, there is a cool way. How to do them. I don't know what happened with Acolyte. Power of... Anyway. Like, it was just like, come on, y'all know how to do it well. Just do it well, y'all. But like Sarah's saying, I want more freaking Night Sisters.
Yeah, I mean, fuck yeah, and
I don't know if Ahsoka season 2 is primed for more Night Sisters necessarily. But there's no, of course there are. They still have the witches with Thrawn, so we better get some.
Yeah, he still has them on board with all of the, what are they, in stasis or something? The thousands of them.
Well, I guess his troops are just kind of hanging. But the witches themselves are still there, and you remember who the head witch is of the Coven in Ahsoka, right? Do you remember who the actress is?
Oh, I do not remember the actresses.
It's Claudia Black. Yeah. Oh my god. She's
really?
The head of the Coven. Yep.
See, I love
Malderon.
Who knew they were Australian? Damn it.
She's got the fingers for it. Oh, but she's so good. Ahsoka, I once again had such a freaking good concept, and it Ahsoka's a little bit weird. The harder, the more conceptual it got, the more kind of rocky it was. The more cookie cutter it was pretty freaking cool. I had to stop myself.
Well, the Night Sisters were kind of complicated to explain, cinematically, and so I think that may have been one of the issues there, is that a lot of the things that are complicated in the Star Wars universe, like in a book or comic book series, I mean, they will spend a whole series introducing a specific race if it's comic book, or it could be 5 chapters in a novel.
Yeah.
And here we get maybe a half episode, and then we got to throw them into the main gist of the story to finish out the 10-episode run. So it's really
condensed, in a condensed in a like squared kind of way. It's just shoved in there.
And space whales rule.
Hyperspace whales. Even.
Hyperspace whales.
Ooh. Next time, yeah. Jamie's he's in the process of a move right now, so he's not in the doghouse. It's just he's got stuff going on. But when the next time Jamie makes fun of our space whales, we come back with hyperspace whales, good sir.
So I can remember if it was Matt that was so down on the space whales or Jamie.
It was Jamie. Which then you pissed him off, which was hilarious whenever you were like, well, Star Trek has space whales too. He was like,
well, let me reference you to these at least 7 or 8 episodes with space whales. And then things kind of like space whales. And if you want to talk about a series that's almost entirely space whale-ish, going back to Claudia Black, Farscape was kind of in a space whale.
That's, I guess, because it's a big old Leviathan, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Leviathan, kind of a space whale.
Oh, I was just about to joke and say we should write a fun little thing called Space Whales just for shits and giggles. And then you said the Leviathan thing. That'd actually be a really cool premise for a show, like a bunch of Leviathans. Call it Space Whales just for shits and gigs or something. But like actually have a bunch of Leviathans hanging out or something. I don't know. Just like the way they interact with space, the different planets they come across. I don't know.
And I saw, did see this last week, Beetlejuice finally. And you know what? They've got sandworms that are giant, and they started, swimming under the sand. I saw these vibrations. This is straight up out of Dune. Come on.
Oh, that is exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
Exactly what they were dooning.
I got caught up on Dune Prophecy, and God, that is good. That is just.
I need to do that. Oops. The spice must flow.
The spice must flow.
Lots of them. Yeah, this is the process of the move, y'all. Just a lot going on. But yeah, no, Beetlejuice has like a perfect little thing. Hey, and Steve, howdy, y'all. Hyperspace Whales, documentary hosted by Admiral.
That's what we need.
See, you said Dune Prophecy, and I immediately, like, my brain went blank, was like, oh, I really need to go watch that, because I meant to watch it this week. But Skeleton Crew came out, Creature Commandos came out, and a few other things, which I guess, this is a good time for Creature Commandos, the other thing that we have in the title, of course, for the episode. Do you think they got some inspiration from the movie Tremors for Dune?
No.
Probably Dune gave Tremors inspiration.
Yeah, Dune came before Tremors. Actually, I've been to the museum, the Tremors Museum in Lone Pine, California, where they have the props still on display. Dude, you got to go to that. I mean, it's right out near the Alabama Hills, where they filmed all sorts of shit. There was something I saw this last week that was filmed in the Alabama Hills. And it was recent. I mean, it is, you got to go. It's like in Lone Pine, California. Lone Pine, or it's either Lone Pine or Big Pine. I can't remember which is first on Highway 395. But yeah, go there, stay in Bishop for a couple of days, go see the petroglyphs, and then come back to LA. But yeah, I mean, you drive through and you go up to like the Alabama Hills, you'll say, oh, this was filmed here. This has been her. And it's just, but anyway, they've got in the museum, they've got this giant, this giant exhibit on just trimmers. And let me text you. You can talk about something else. I had a picture.
Because I can type in Trimmers Museum and try to find it. Is what I'm thinking I might have to try to do. Popcorn said it's all fun and games till you hit a girl band concert in England and the Spice Girls must flow. God, come on.
God.
Come on.
Oh my God.
But Carrie, if I had to guess, I would say Dune probably helped inspire Trimmers, and maybe some of the things that I would say probably Dune 1984, Lynch's Dune probably helped them figure out how they would do some of the things they would do in Trimmers. And then the Trimmers movie probably helped them figure out how they would do some things in Children of Dune. Not Children's of Dune. You know what I'm trying to say. And then so on and so forth. That like timeline wise, And I'll get to it, Mark. I'm bad. I know. Because I really do. We keep talking about it. I want to set like times out for Star Trek to watch. I want to do maybe 2 episodes a day. Most days of the week, maybe 3 or 4 days a week if I can, something like that. But I don't know if it's a good idea. I was thinking about that this morning. Do I start before Christmas or after Christmas? Because if I'm going to have to stop for a week or so around Christmas, I guess I don't have to stop, but there's a lot going on around Christmas time, I don't know. What are y'all thinking? Start ASAP or start after Christmas? Y'all let me know.
Well, you'll be more behind if you wait after Christmas, and you're going to enjoy it. I mean, Brian, it really does. A lot of it is based on Brian Herbert's books. He's the grandson. Is he the son? The grandson of Frank Herbert. But anyway, it's based on one of his books. The prequel, of course, to Dune, one of the prequels, and it really is good. It really is good.
It looks really good. And I keep seeing a whole bunch of different reviews and thoughts, I guess, from different angles. And people are saying different things, which I like. That's always good when there's a conversation about it, I feel like. That people are intrigued enough to continue watching and there's a conversation about it. Carrie said, I didn't know there were any movies about sandworms before Trimmers. I think just Dune. I can't think of another one. Well, Beetlejuice. It had sandworms in there. Yeah. Sokar, David, Steve, everyone's saying after Christmas. After Christmas Day is the next episode of Doku, of course. Okay, so after Christmas. I guess I'll start after Christmas. That's an easy thing to set. We can kind of get some things laid out for that. Not necessarily for that. I guess for the channel is more what I'm thinking. I saw the David Lynch Dune as a kid. I was 8. I still love it. My dad showed me it a few times growing up because he just loved just the world of Dune. Tried to get me to read the book a lot as a kid, and I just took forever to actually get me to do it. And I'd like to read it again because it's been a decade or so. I think something like that.
The Lynch, if you watch the Lynch version and then you watch the new versions, you're going to learn. You'll learn something new from both of them because the book is just the book Dune is so
vast,
condensed and vast. I mean, there's just a lot to pick up. I mean, still, they still haven't picked up on little details like the Orange Catholic Bible. They still haven't even talked about that, or Zen Sunnis, or anything like that. I mean, it's just really all encompassing. It'd be difficult to just, You
get on DVD. I really do like the Dune one, the Dune one, the Lynch Dune.
Right.
Because it is such a big book, they do kind of take and omit different things from each one. So you do kind of, I guess you get a little bit of a learning experience from both. And then if you were to read the book after or before, it'd be kind of interesting just to get the whole boom, boom, boom. And then, like maybe a little Children of Dune in there, that miniseries. And, it'd be fun to have that comparison of like what begets the story best when it's adapted, Is this being omitted and this being included better, or this being omitted and this being included better, or put as much as you can in it as a miniseries of all of it, but you can't necessarily do it to the same scale as you would with the other two. You know, I guess there's just there's a weird trichotomy with it, I guess.
So I sent you something in our Facebook chat.
Yeah.
You should dig it.
How do? Okay, hold on. I gotta.
How amazing to get thrown out of the museum. But it is in Lone Pine. I checked. It is in Lone Pine.
Lone Pine?
Yeah.
Got it.
It's the I think the Museum of Western Cinema or something.
Can I present just
You should be able to.
Well, I have it in a different tab, like a Chrome tab. Can I do just a add file from my computer, upload file? I don't know.
Should be able to.
Where are Chazz and Matt when we need?
Yeah, where is our IT?
Because SOS, Real Wade Nation Gaming Clip says hashtag Wade Raid. Howdy, man. How are you?
The title of the museum is the Museum of Western Film History. And they have they've got stuff from Star Trek and Marvel, especially Iron Man and Tremors, of course, and just Django. They had the whole last time I was there. They had the whole carriage with the big tooth on top. That was in there, along with the science script from and it was just all sorts of artifacts from that film.
I'm struggling on this. I'm trying to get it on. It's such a good photo. For I guess context for everybody. Come on.
Oh, I got it.
Let me do this. For context, it's Stormy standing in front of a giant dune sandworm, and it is glorious.
Let me see. Hang on. Let me see if I can.
Or was that? Oh, you had Tremor sandworm, not dune. My bad. Because in here, I just have it on a different Chrome tab, so it's kind of being screwy on what I can pull up. Because if it's on like this Chrome tab, I can pull up any tab, but
right.
It's on a different Google thing, so it doesn't want me to log in on Facebook on the same one. But anyway, I guess while we're trying to figure that out, I'll start talking about a little creature Commandos. You said you haven't seen that one yet. Do you have any?
I have not.
Do you know what it is? Do you have an idea of?
I got no clue, man.
Well, with all Marvel stuff going on, DC and James Gunn and Peter Safran over there are doing their thing. Superman comes out in 2025 is our first big live action thing for it. And some of the characters that you will see in that movie have been animated first and are appearing in Creature Commandos, which is almost a spiritual sequel and successor to Suicide Squad and like Peacemaker and things of the sort. It includes some similar characters. Oh, are you going to make it your backdrop?
I'm trying to make it as a backdrop, but it's
that'd be hilarious.
Futzing with me.
Being eaten actually by a Tremors worm real quick. But okay, Creature Commandos essentially is Suicide Squad, but instead of a bunch of villains, it's I guess they're kind of villains still. It's pretty Suicide Squad-y. It's Suicide Squad with monsters.
There you go.
I mean, realistically, it looks like a Sarlacc in a lot of ways as well.
It kind of does. It kind of does.
Your reaction is perfect as well.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I'm amazed that I didn't get thrown out of the museum.
You are in the middle of the Sarlacc pit currently. In the middle of the worm.
Another desert worm of all. Yeah, so
it happens.
Is desert worm now a sci-fi trope?
Yeah, I think so. Can we make space whales the next one, please?
Sure. Let's go for it.
God,
It'll really piss off Jay. I'm so happy about that.
it'll make us chuckle to death while doing so. Yes, I'm okay with it. But no, Creature Commandos is really cool. I guess I don't know a good way of explaining it outside of it is Suicide Squad with monsters. Instead of a bunch of different characters that are like really villainous, they're not necessarily as villainous. Probably more anti-hero to petty bad guy, you know. Have cool powers, but more petty bad guys. They don't necessarily want to be bad guys. And you know, they're more just misunderstood as the kind of thing goes, as the story goes. So far, it's pretty damn cool. Sokar, I agree with you. He enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but it is not suitable for under 15-year-olds. Not under 15-year-olds. It is a rated R show, or I guess it's not. I don't know if it's TV mature. It's TV 14 at the very least, which at that point, technically, would be fine for 15s. But, you know, you need a better grasp. It's not a little animated show that you could drop in for your kids to watch, you know. It's one that you want high school or older probably for something like that, and it's badass. It's really fun. It is. I have problems with James Gunn's writing sometimes, and not because it's bad. Sometimes Peacemaker, there are some things I could have some conversations about, but generally I do, and it's not a fault of his own, but it's his talents that are at fault nonetheless. And I mean that with like respect and like a good thing. But I do fault him with kind of the shittier movies we've gotten for the past decade, essentially. Because after Guardians of the Galaxy, people saw, okay, you can have that much heart, that much action, and that much just joy and comedy all at once. And everything's tried to be that ever since. And it just doesn't. It very rarely adds up. Like, you can have a bunch of heart and you have a bunch of action. You can have a bunch of comedy, have a bunch of action. There's a lot of different variations of, you know, your general formulas. And they've all kind of narrowed into one formula in the past decade. And it feels like it's after Guardians too. And it's not even the MCU that the MCU movies that came out right after that were already filmed or were filming, like Civil War and Winter Soldier themselves that came out that same year, and Ant-Man 2015. All of those are very much like unique in their own ways. But kind of after Civil War, Black Panther might be the only thing that's truly unique out of all of them. Even Endgame and Infinity War is a lot of Infinity War is pretty brutal, which I do appreciate that they allow that brutality there. Creature Commandos is allowing brutality and still has all that kind of stuff. I think it is using the James Gunn formula to a good T, you know, and not necessarily overusing it like Borderlands has done, or like you could name 15 other shows, Shazam, Black Adam, any of these things, like all, just they're all so good in their own way. You don't need to just borrow from this one filmmaker's vision of it. You got your own vision if you're a filmmaker. Use that vision. Don't borrow. I guess you got a bunch of studio heads telling you to borrow, but make something unique. And I think we're finally getting into, okay, well, James Gunn is making something unique again. Let's see what it's going to do. And I guess that I don't know if James Gunn is the litmus test for what the next decade is going to be either. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm just reading the chat, and Tim TRK is just, we were fighting trimmer worms for a very long time, but we were doing it in Appalachia, desert. So
mountain worms.
Yeah, and then we had to fend off a lot of the rhododendron and kudzu that were just fucking trying to kill me.
Aye.
Tim's really got a lot of kudzu scars, slashes. It's just horrible what he went through. He spent years in a back to tank.
Well, this is a good story. He's got a lot of people watching time in a back to tank.
Right. God, we're terrible.
Carrie, as always, listen to Carrie. You got to listen to Miss Carrie. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and
Miss Carrie.
Leave a comment after the live day of the channel. We love you, Carrie. Thank you. And then we love all y'all. So listen to Carrie. We're a big happy family around here. Crazy kooky family. We get by. We get by.
David, on our friends. Sorry, throw in some Beatles.
I almost started singing, breaking out in song there. No Creature Commandos on Disney Plus in the UK if that's the channel. It's on HBO Max or just Max in general. It is a Warner Brothers thing. So hopefully this is a new era for Warner Brothers and their DC content, their projects. Hopefully with, like we've talked about with Marvel as of recent, they seem like they're kind of getting back on track. Maybe superhero stuff isn't going the wayside just yet. You know, we're still getting plenty of superheroes, and now we're actually learning how to do them well. I think even The Boys is learning to pivot because they realized by season 4 they were everything they have been parodying since the beginning, which they kind of always were the thing that they were parodying. Like, you had to parody it, you had to put in place all of like the super capitalistic, you know, like The Boys was always exactly what it was parodying. It was just funny. You know, and a little provocative, you know,
a little.
But I do feel like Creature Commandos is trying to find a little bit of a balance there, which I appreciate. It is going to lead us into the more Boy Scout, Superman kind of film that'll be probably PG-13, but very well probably could be rated PG as well if they tried. So fingers crossed, we're on the mend here for superhero projects. It's something we all love. It's all super enjoyable. It's just like Star Wars and Lucasfilm has been, and like you were saying earlier, there's been a bit of an ebb and flow to it, and up and down to superhero projects the last couple of years. By the way, what is Gentry Chow versus the Underworld? I'm not sure. I'm not positive. You got a VPN, David and Icarus? Max is on something else, though, isn't it? Didn't they add it to in the UK? I believe
I'm not sure.
Wasn't it on one of the like Sky Plus or something like that, or something of the sort? Oh, Creature Commandos, DC's answer to X-Men '97. I think so. I think so. I don't know if they realized how not necessarily popular, but successful X-Men '97 was going to be. But so far, I think Creature Commandos is matching it. Still haven't seen X-Men '97. I'm just talking about like general ratings, I guess, right now. I still need to watch that, but I can confirm Creature Commandos is pretty damn good. Max on Sky in the UK, I think. Okay. I could have sworn I heard one of y'all talking about it at some point. One of our UK folks. Oh, TRK. That does not sound like a joke. Ow. Oh, Popcorn said, I'm glad the showrunner and the boys decided to make it political. It really adds the flavor of the show. We just don't get much of that in shows today.
Well, yeah, that's true, because everyone's terrified of something being canceled.
Well, I think that might be sarcasm.
I mean, in terms of, fiction, there's, you probably know more so than I. There's lots of scripts that just didn't go forward because the producers were terrified of them. And I think there's a little bit of that in Star Wars. Well, we can't be too controversial.
That's the part as well.
Yeah, and yet controversy is what drives cinema. I mean, Apocalypse Now, they went for it because it was controversial, and it damn near killed Coppola, and everybody else in the production. Damn, really, almost killed a bunch of people in that production. But yeah, I mean, it was Vietnam, which was really. I know I'm the old guy here. Vietnam was a crushing political topic that nobody wanted to talk about, but yet was always in the news and always on everybody's mind. Vietnam, my God. And so, of course, Apocalypse Now comes out right when we're starting maybe a little bit of healing, a little tiny little bit of healing from Vietnam, and just, oh, look, a wound. Let's rip that shit open.
Rip that Band-Aid off. It's
right, And literally, Martin Sheen almost died. I mean, he had a heart attack on his, was it first or second day of filming in that fucking hotel? I mean, and then And Coppola tried to hide that because he wanted, because it was controversial. He had a hard enough time getting funding for the film, and he did not. I mean, he hid that from the studio. Yeah, if you want to know just how horrible of an experience filming Apocalypse Now was, there's a documentary. What's the name of it? Into the Heart of Darkness, I think it is.
Yeah, okay, Into the Heart of Darkness. Mm-hmm.
Into the Heart of Darkness, and the book, of course, Apocalypse Now is named after the book, or it comes from the book, Heart of Darkness. But Into the Heart of Darkness is the documentary that tells all about. I mean, Coppola was walking around with a loaded gun to his head. I mean, it was just insane. And it was just watch it. I mean, it is.
What people do for their art sometimes, it's a lot.
There's just one photo. I mean, Coppola was a madman. His beard was out to here. He was on like this little tiny like raft, in one of the, I forget what the name of it. It's like a bamboo hat, one of the conical bamboo hats you see in like in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And he was just had a typewriter and he was just banging it out like a madman on this boat with this hat. I mean, oh my God. Somebody should have like airdropped lithium or Prozac into that set because it was fucking crazy. God. Into the Heart of Darkness. I suggest
I know of it and I've never watched it, but I really do. It sounds just it sounds interesting from a filmmaking standpoint, from a directing and writing standpoint, from an actor standpoint, and from a documentary. Like, there's got to be some like background footage and everything else. Just the footage of people having to be on set and just see the
background footage. There's a background audio where I think his wife was recording a lot of conversations that he didn't know was going on. He didn't know the recording was. Oh, it's insane. And how we even got the movie. I mean, it's a masterpiece, I think. I mean, I really do think but how it even got made after all the chaos, just In the Heart of Darkness, find out where it's at, go watch it. It's insane.
All right. Okay, well, before we start talking about everything that we've watched this week and kind of go in depth about it, and I don't think I'm talking about woke or the pendulum swinging back or whatever. We can all talk about all that, yada, yada. I think I'm talking specifically and questioning that specifically, not the anti-woke, cancel, and uncancel, pendulum swinging one side to the other side. It's more, is TV in a place right now where I guess the last few years, everything I just said, all those little different buzzwords and keywords keep popping up everywhere. Are we at a point as a society and with the TV that we're making, for the future of TV aspect of, I guess, our title here, are we at a point that we can take a step back enough now that we've had, I guess, the last few years and of course, maybe we won't do this, but do we have the right tools in the toolbox to say, hey, take a step back before you release something. Take a step back and, like, pay attention. What are you saying here? What does this mean? Like, does it have heart behind it, a soul behind it? Is there an actual story? Are you focusing on specific key points and buzzwords? Or are you focusing on a story and adding things in there to make it make sense and have, like, heart and soul and add that to your keywords, whatever? Are we at a point at TV where, I think we can apply a finger to the pulse more and have better TV, hopefully for the rest of the decade, for the second half of the decade in 2025 on, with Marvel, with their X-Men 97, Skeleton Crew for Lucasfilm and Disney right now, Creature Commandos for Warner Brothers and DC, all different franchises that have been heading up society, really, in the way, I guess, cinematically, thematically, for the past 10 years, all gone downhill. Are we at a point where they go back uphill? We're at a point where we can at least have that finger on the pulse and discuss it honestly, and hopefully the producers and filmmakers as well.
I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. I mean, I hate to be a pessimist, but it's let's say you look at literature, right? As an analogy. These day and age, if you're a writer, you have a much easier chance at hitting an audience or writing it, paying like $5,000 for an editor to come through and say, this is good, this is slow, whatever. And then hitting the publish button on Amazon, you have a much better chance of hitting your audience than you do if you're a filmmaker. Because a filmmaker, it's a lot more expensive. We all thought that, 10 years ago, oh shit, this was 20 years ago. I used to work had a side job with AOL. And we had Keyword Film, and we had a movie chat every night, every week, I think it was. And we had this whole online independent movie filmmaking community there. Mm-hmm. And we were all thinking then that with stuff coming up like YouTube or online, that we could make our own movies, edit them ourselves, and then just put them up, and we could make a living off that. And that's just not the case. Now we still have the same barriers, whether it's a theater or a streaming company, and you're putting something now up on, or just on, releasing it on YouTube is never going to actually do this often. I mean, there's some guys doing fan films like for Star Trek and Star Wars, but they can't make any money because it's not their IP.
Yeah.
And so I think if you want to see where the trends are going in terms of sci-fi or fantasy, you should look at literature first. Literature, I think literature, the tone of literature is still going up and up and up in terms of quality. I don't think we're at the bottom of where we are in terms of streaming or at least filmed content. I think we got a ways to go. Because I think, these studios, I think they're still of a mindset when we don't want to offend anybody. And I know some of the writers is doing well on Amazon, and they're offending people, but they're telling a really good story. And, it's like, I don't give a fuck if the conversations I've had with them, I don't give a fuck if someone's offended. This is my story. This is my book. If they don't want it, don't fucking buy it. And so if you really want, the cutting edge of sci-fi, horror, or fantasy, it's in Amazon in the book form. I don't think the film industry has that kind of courage yet, and I don't think they will for a very long time.
You don't think just, I guess, that? Yeah,
in terms of offending people, hell, there are people that are deeply offended over Acolyte, and it really wasn't anything political.
It was just subpar writing. Because it was a damn good concept, but
but it was a mediocre tale with a story that we're used to, an epic tale in this universe, and it just
Yeah, I personally think we need to get back to, like what you're saying, everybody makes their story. I don't care if it offends you or anything. That means you could probably learn something from it and gain a different perspective, or learn something from a perspective, whether you agree with it or not, and that goes for any side, whatever, for anything. Tell the story at hand. You don't need to reach all four not every movie needs to be a 4-quadrant movie,
there's these, every time Pride rolls around for the month, you get all these people, then a lot of the streaming services will, they'll boost a lot of the exposure of gay films, and some of them just ain't gay. A couple of the characters are either lesbian or homosexual, but it's not about their love life. If they're off, scaling the walls of some sort of crazy cave or something, and this is woke because it's got 2 gay lesbian characters and they're in a cave, which is obvious, some sort of, symbolism of the vagina and the birth tract. And it's just, you got to be, shut the fuck up. It's 2 chicks in a cave. It's going after some sort of, treasure or something. It's just, oh man, it is wearying. It is just tiresome. If you don't just change the channel, there's a million streaming services and there's a million films on every streaming services.
Like
go watch Downton Abbey. Please.
Like Carrie and Silk are saying, if you're offended by it, don't watch it. You don't have to read it. But once again, I guess like the point I was trying to make is, if it still is something that you're offended by or something like that, and you do take the time to watch it, it might still piss you off, but you probably learn something from it. But it's better than watching something that is just 4-quadrant, something like the studio executives and producers, those talking heads back there that just make it all so bland. And that's been a big thing, I think, is the James Gunn stuff that I was talking about earlier. I don't fault him. I fault the studio executives and the producers that have been in the last decade saying, oh, well, we like what you have, but we want it to be more like that. Can you make it more like that? We want it to be more Guardians-y. We want you to have a little bit more fun. We want you to have, oh, yeah, you can have moments of sadness and heartfelt stuff, but 80% of it, 90% of it needs to be jovial all the time and cracking jokes and punching people on the shoulder like, ha, hey. It's like, okay, we're tired of that as an audience after a decade of it.
Yeah. You know? And this country's had a long history of censorship. I grew up in a really religious
family. It called? TV programming, you know?
Programming, right. So anyway, I remember I used to read, I read all of the Hardy Boy mysteries, and one of the preachers my parents dragged me to, they were calling out the Hardy Boys as sinful. And so then I had my Hardy Boys mysteries taken away, but they didn't take away the Hobbit because that was the preacher was not smart enough to know who the fuck Tolkien was. So I got away with the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but no, Hardy Boys, no, it's got to be banned. Jackasses. So anyway, we have a long history of censorship. We have a long history of big media companies kowtowing to minorities. I mean, you know, vocal, loud minorities. Yeah, it's just look up the history of book banning in America. You'll find some really
anywhere.
Oh, and let's get into D&D, man. That was, I mean, what do they call it? The satanic panic. I mean, oh Lordy. I mean, I remember my grandmother found my player's handbook, and she really didn't know what it was because it was so complicated to her. And so she just let it be. But this is also the same woman that threw away my Van Halen 1984 album because there was an angel on the front cover smoking cigarettes, and that was just too off the rails.
Angels need a break too sometimes, you know? Like
it was, yeah, I had a big battle with censorship growing up. And so, yeah, I don't even know where the fuck I was going with, but yeah, every generation has their something to pick on, you know, and, you know, I think, corporate media really has a hard time producing things that may be offensive to a certain group, whatever that group is. I remember Rushdie. He was actually shot in the face for his book. Salman Rushdie. He wrote a book back in the 80s called Satanic Verses. It was a fictional book, but yeah, he had a fatwa of an Islamic fatwa, which is a death sentence or death ruling, issued on him. And finally, like 20, 30 years later, he was on stage, even a presentation in New York, and some jihadi ran on stage and shot him in the face.
Ooh.
So, you know, it is, a lot of people get really hot under the collar concerning art. We've really got to move away from that as a culture.
Yeah.
Until we move away from that as a culture, we're always going to have people that's scared to produce art. And the people that's not scared to produce art, God love them.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's kind of why I add that caveat where, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But that's why I try to, like, specifically add that in there every time, is like, but if you do, and you do take the time, you're going to learn something from it. Whether you end up agreeing with it or not, perspective is an amazing thing to grab and to learn from. And it's one of the only ways that we truly can learn as a people, I think, in a lot of ways, is to gain other perspective. I don't think it changes your own perspective most of the time, but it allows you to reference and infer more to make sense of whatever perspective you have. And if it does change that perspective, good, or not, whatever it might be, you know.
And we've talked about on this channel about Andy Weir, you know, and his work on The Martian, and he's got the new one coming up, Project Hail Mary. I have an uncle that is just crazy against the Project Hail Mary, because it proved in the story there's life on another world, and he thinks they're really demons, and we shouldn't promote demonology in our in the theater.
Interesting.
Because Rocky, in his mind, according to his theology, is a demon.
Huh.
So so if you want the cutting edge, go to literature. I mean, in terms of, if you look on, if you're on part of the book reading crowd on Instagram, I mean, there's a whole movement about sapphic stories. I mean, pirate stories and just horror story. I mean, but it's based on sapphic sapphic ideologies and sapphic storytelling, and those writers are making bank. And it's something that you would never see on TV. You wouldn't even see it on Netflix in the early days, but it's highly popular. I mean, it's got its own community, and just so the cutting edge stuff, I think, still in books.
Yeah, I really, really liked. I almost want to clip what you were saying earlier and put it into like a short or something, because I really liked it. Where you made me think, just the books that have been coming out recently. They're not. I guess not more. They're not far and few between. There are more books being published now than there ever have been. But
yeah.
Also, the ones that make it big they feel kind of more far and few between. Most of the time, they're just some famous person's autobiography or someone, whatever. It's interesting, I guess, thinking about the future of TV through the future of books. We're like, what came out in the last 5 years? Project Hail Mary, like Cixin Liu, I forget how you say that, but the 3 Body Problem and her trilogy of books. And of course, Netflix is already doing that with the Game of Thrones guys. But if that's what we have to look forward to, we're pretty set, as long as, like we were saying, these executives and producers can take a step back and gain perspective and say, hey, if something needs to be something, it is that something. It doesn't need to be everything. Making a friend to everyone is a friend to no one. Trying to make a movie for everyone makes a movie for no one, I guess, is a good little metaphor to apply there. It's just not doable in some ways.
Yeah, and LOL to TRK's comment about he left the rules out about his WW World War II game, and his mom thought he was joining. Dude, I totally forgot all about that. God bless you.
Okay. Popcorn had a funny joke here a second ago, too. I don't know why people get hot under the collar over art. He was a great character next to Jim West in the Wild Wild West. But speaking of which, if anyone is desperate for a
stab to pieces with dad jokes.
Would Xena Gabriel's story be told today? Like
Xena God, no, Jesus.
Xena Warrior Princess?
Xena Warrior Princess. Oh my, okay. Yeah, Xena and Gabriel. I mean, it was like the most requited lesbian love story of that time, and everybody was watching him. Nobody wanted to watch Sorbo's Hercules at the time. I mean, because
it led into that, right?
Well, it was kind of a spinoff, and then Lucy Lawless got her own show, as a match to the over hyperly masculine Kevin Sorbo vehicle Hercules, and whatever his sidekick was, I can't remember the guy's name in Hercules. I mean, they would have made the worst gay couple ever. I mean, it was just because they were clearly had no affection for each other. I mean, even in terms of like a friendship. And you could tell, in Xena Warrior Princess, that her and her psychic had a genuine, it was written for the screen friendship, and the actresses pulled it off amazing, and so the fandom went crazy, hoping that they would get together, and nobody wanted to see Kevin Sorbo get together with anybody. And I think those two still go at it on Twitter. It's just
really. I've only ever seen like bits and pieces of either of the shows, and I love every little bit and piece I've ever seen. I
Okay,
love
so Lucy Lawless did a lot of her own stunts. It was low budget, but the writing on that show, Xena, was really top notch. I mean, they really hit a crescendo, acting and writing, and I think it was low budget enough where everybody was leaving them alone. I think it was just writing only available in syndication at the time. So it was like UPN at 3 a.m. or some crazy shit like that. But it was really, really good.
And yeah, huh. Because
Andromeda was really good. They had really good, going back to what Popcorn Power said, they had really good writing, and the whole idea of the Galactic Commonwealth and how it kind of dissolved, and there's this one race that would bury its young or its eggs in your tummy or something, and it was fascinating, but also really grotesque. I forget the name of the race.
Interesting. Almost like xenomorphic in a way, or
it was kind of, but it was more. It was just gross. Go watch the first season of Andromeda. That was the best season, I believe. Plus, it had the AI, which turned out to be the in-life marital partner of. I'm blanking on the name. Stargate. Andrew Jackson. Huh?
Oh, okay.
She married the real life actor that played Daniel Jackson the second time, and I am blanking on that.
Okay.
Shanks,
Michael Shanks.
Thank you. My God. Yeah. So I'm gonna go off and get like some Alzheimer's medicine or something, because don't get old. Don't do it. So yeah. So anyway, then two actually married in real life. The woman played, was it Lex? Lexa
Droid?
Yeah, Lexa Droid. That was it. That was her character name in Andromeda. And that's how we can get back to Stargate. She actually married the actor who played Michael. Yeah. Married
Daniel Jackson. Oh. Did Xena have a miniature Stargate as a weapon? Wait, what?
Oh yeah, she had like a round. Oh God, Tim may know what these weapons are. It's a round weapon, but the outer circumference is really razor sharp, and you toss it like a frisbee and it decapitates you.
Oh, so you got some feisty CDs then. Shoot. Which reminds me of Y2K, which we'll get into what we watched this weekend here in just a second. Have you ever caught the Y files on YouTube?
I have not caught the Y files on YouTube.
I do want to write down if I can speak. Sounded like Wadra Wabbit over here for a second. The aliens on Andromeda were like Alf the alien on crack.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to look up what the name of that one race was that would like.
Magog or a Chakram?
Maybe? Oh, the Magog, right. Yeah, they lay eggs. And
Reverend Bean? Is that it?
Yes.
Whoosh. That sounds just
creepy.
Shocking. Interesting. All right. Okay. So we've talked about the future.
So the Magog was a race of bipedal furred sentient beings that are the single most feared species in the Andromeda wiki. While the Magog did not destroy the Commonwealth, they certainly gorged themselves feasting on its remains. And since their catastrophic attacks on the waning days of the Nietzschean uprising, the Magog have roamed through the known worlds nearly unchecked, launching devastating raids against populated worlds only to retreat again, leaving devastation in their wake. I'm trying to find out where their procreation habits are. But yes, anyway, they were really creepy. So watch the first episode, or if you've got the time, first season of Andromeda. It was really good.
That sounds creepy. I like that. I like a good villain, So something to root against. Yeah, no, that sounds fun. Okay, but this week,
what
have you watched outside of Skeleton Crew, of course?
Okay, So I got caught up on Dune Prophecy.
Yep.
And I watched a movie called Damsel.
How was it?
With Millie Brown.
Uh-huh.
It was really good.
Oh, good.
I said, oh God, this is. She needed to make a house payment or something. No, totally wrong. Really good. Don't want to give away the spoilers, but it was really good. And I rewatched all 3 of the Guardian of the Galaxies, 1, 2, and 3. I didn't watch the Christmas
Speak
special.
of the devil, James Gunn.
Right, James Gunn, right. And we're talking about doing things that are controversial. I remember being against, and this is back in the 80s, being against animal testing in a lab. No one cared about it, but now very few people advocate for it. And the point in time where Rocket finds all little baby raccoons in the cage, and he looks at the label on the cage, and is all from Earth, and the species was raccoon. It is still a tearjerker. I mean, then he rescues them all, puts them in his pockets, on his back, and they all crawl around, and he saves his. I mean, and it's even though it's a CGI face, they did a very good job at showing the horror, disgust, and the fear in Rocket all at the same time when he found the baby raccoon. So that was.
Oh, I'm mad at you for bringing it up because I'm thinking about going to cry now.
Yeah, we'll grab you some tissues. The other one is I finished off, as you guys suggested for me a few weeks ago, finished off Penguin.
Ooh.
And I still, the makeup effects.
It's a different person. That's not Colin Farrell anymore.
It can't.
Have you seen the videos of him speaking in his normal accent in the suit?
What? It was really mind breaking. I mean, somebody needs an Emmy for that one. I mean, it was his acting skills.
I would be shocked.
I mean, I knew it was him, and I watched every episode trying to see, is this him? I mean, is there anything of our Colin Farrell anywhere in that character? And I never found it. In his voice, his mannerisms, he did a great job. And you guys were right. Penguin was off the hook. And it never, I was expecting, this is, going to be another, overdone superhero thing from DC. And it wasn't. I mean, there's a little bit, tiny slivers of Batman in it, but this could just have been, a crime story.
Oh,
this could have just been something, a crime story on FX. I mean, there was no hint of it of superhero anything.
And at the beginning, they were comparing to like very Soprano-esque. And by the end,
I was like, oh my God! I told some friends of mine, I said, you got to go watch this. And I said, I'm not, I'm really not into the Superman or Batman. I said, no, this is Sopranos. And when you watch an episode, then go look who's playing the Penguin. And everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe that's him.
It's so good. I mean, it's dark. It is deep and it is dark.
Oh, it is.
No spoilers, I guess, just for the folks that are still, I guess, working on it. But those final moments between who and the Penguin, at the buddy pal, and just that's the most talk about gut wrenching. I was right there. It's like you knew it had to happen in a way from Penguin's point of view.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't help. It doesn't help from the audience perspective at all. We're just sitting through that. It's just, talk about gut wrenching. It is. Yeah, Sokar, correct. It was sad. It was very sad.
So Mark Fernkoff is on to something, talking about he's rewatching Dexter. I got to go do that. The origin story, the original Sin series, I was a big Dexter fan back in the day. And
such a good show.
Such a good show.
I still haven't watched New Blood, but I should.
Yeah, I haven't watched that either, and I need to go. It's just I got to go, sign up for yet another stream.
All 94 of them.
Yeah, all 94 of them.
Six seasons in a week, David?
Have you bathed? Did you change your clothes? Are you still wearing the same pair of socks, David?
I'm guessing it's like background noise type of thing. Damn, that's a lot.
Damn.
Hey, but that's how he has time to make all the really cool memes we always get.
That's true. God, this last one, me stealing with the right, that was as funny as shit. I love those memes.
I love the one that we have as the thumbnail for today too. It's just like it's the Fab Four, but you're running with the rice. That lady's trying to like swoop me up off the ground. Jay's just in the middle of somewhere. I don't remember what Matt's
trying to get the hell out of there. You know, it's just.
God,
that was funny.
Well, did you watch anything else this week?
Oh, let me go back to my list. Sorry, yeah.
Think about it.
Skeleton Crew, Dune Prophecy, Damsel, Millie Brown, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1, 2, 3, and Penguin. That's about all I had time for.
That's a pretty good list. I'm gonna bring up
new semester starts next week, so there goes a lot of my free time. But I've only taken one class this semester, not 4.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not doing the full-time thing again and working full-time. That was crazy. And they were boring topics. Barely. I think I got like 4 or 5 hours a night for 12 weeks, and it was because driving to work is 36 hours a month, because it's an hour out in the desert, hour back, and then I'm doing 10-hour days, so I sleep most like Friday to catch up, and then I got Saturday and Sunday to do the work. It's just not recommended. Done. It's out of the way. There's 4 classes which I loathed. Done. Ooh, don't do that again.
Smart move, Stormy.
I mean, you guys. I mean, I was like on every week, and then I just vanished for 12 weeks. Stormy alive? I don't know.
It's like Burley. He's trying.
But yeah, space is hard. Space is really fucking hard.
All right, Lordy.
Oh, right. There's another thing. I did watch. It was last night. Let's see. I was trying to think of the name of it. Hang on a second. You go on with yours, and I'll come up with this last one I watched.
Was it something new?
Kind of. Is on Apple Plus.
Severance, maybe.
No, something with Scarlett Johansson, and I'll have the title here for you in a second.
It's not Silo.
Not Silo.
She did
just come the Apollo launch. It was Fly Me to the Moon.
Yes. It was with Channing Tatum as well.
Yeah.
Not the best, but it's surprisingly good. It's fun.
Yeah, it was a fun Apollo movie. Compared to everything else is really deep in hardware and the struggle and space is hard. And Woody Harrelson played a really good asshole. He really did. I mean, it was just, Ray Romano was in there, and it really had the acting was really good. The
supporting cast was awesome. I believe it was the directorial debut, feature film wise, of I think it was Greg Berlanti. The guy that was behind originally, like the Arrowverse and like all that big CW guy before now movies.
And it's it was kind of a comedy. It wasn't pushing any kind of conspiracy thing except for whatever Nixon was into. But it's always a good one. I watched that last night, and that is the absolute end of everything that I watched. That was.
Okay, I got to get to this in a second because I'm going to be very interested with Justin's thoughts on Skeleton Crew as well here. But Sarah is asking you, Stormy, what degree you're going for?
Okay, so
it's a few.
The next degree I'm going for, I've already got one bachelor's degree. This is the one I'm going for now is electrical engineering.
That's right.
But in the background, I've also been working on a PhD in theoretical mathematics. The melding of Boolean mathematics with set theory.
Nice.
And actually, the PhD work is less stressful than the classes I had last semester, which were like occupational safety, quality management. I mean, they're boring as shit. Give me math problems no one can solve. I'm right there.
But now you are officially like our OSHA person. If you're occupational safety,
I'm not going to talk. No, I'm just not going to talk about OSHA.
I'm done.
Yes, Icarus, union of set theory and Boolean algebra, or Boolean mathematics.
Or intersection between set theory.
Yes.
Union of. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, Justin, I enjoyed the shit out of it. But we were talking about Skeleton Crew kind of, being a little bit more on the Andor-oriented side of things. And I know you're not the biggest fan of Andor. But that still felt so Star Wars. So what are you feeling? Because I'm intrigued. I loved it. I really liked it. Stormy loved it as well. We talked about it a lot. I thought it was great. But yes, very true so far. Very true. And lots of brain power. This week though, because I haven't watched Dune Prophecy yet, and I'm going to. I need to. My bad.
You need to.
Skeleton Crew and Creature Commandos got me this week, and I really enjoyed both of them. I was watching it. I was watching Falling Skies a decent amount, which is awesome. Yeah, literally, Mark. I meant to mention this earlier, and I totally forgot. What We Do in the Shadows, of course, which the last freaking episode of the entire series airs on, I think, Monday night or Tuesday night, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. That's so good, and it's so sad that it's ending. But of course, it takes place in the same universe as True Blood and all the other different things. I guess they've kind of canonized at this point, but that was hilarious. So What We Do in the Shadows, I watched as well. Yellowstone. I don't think I was able to catch up on anything else on Paramount. There's a million things I'm going to watch on Paramount right now. I think that's it TV-wise. Movies, though, I did go see Moana 2, I guess. I don't know if we've talked about that all that much, but I did go see that with my family last week, which was great. And then I saw Y2K yesterday morning, the new Rachel Zegler, Julian Dennison, and what is his name? It's like the kid from It. I forget his name. Jaden Martell. There it is. I think something like that. In Y2K, it felt like a late 90s, early 2000s movie. It was not scary at all. It is a slasher, but it's a comedy slasher, and it is hilarious. It's not a great movie. It's not a very good movie. So freaking funny. It's worth the watch. It was really good. Rachel Zegler's not my favorite. If it helps, she's by far the least, not pivotal, but like she brings the least amount to the table. Anybody could have played that role. It's just, just the love interest essentially. And she doesn't bring anything unique to the role. She just kind of bats her eyes and is pretty, which works, But the secondary characters, they actually have a little bit of thing going on, and that's it's really surprisingly good in that sense. Not like good, but anyway. The other thing I watched that was last night was a late one, was The Return, which is Ray Fiennes' newest movie, and that's the one that outside of Conclave, of course, but his newest movie that is essentially the last few chapters of the Odyssey. It's Odysseus making it home and having to deal with retaking the kingdom essentially, but doing so as a beggar. And it is a slow burn. It is a slow burn. And it's so damn good. It's one of the most perfectly cast movies I've seen in a long time. And like, not in the sense of this grandiose world that anybody can populate, but you needed specific actors to play very specific parts that could bring forth a very ancient feel in a modern time, but still come across modern enough for people to enjoy. Not a very expensive movie, it didn't seem like to make, but every penny was utilized well. And I don't think it's going to go far in the box office, or I don't know if many people are going to see it, but I wish they would, because it's Odysseus and it's a story we all know. and it's all worth watching. But here we go. We're reading into Justin down there.
Just mentioning something from Sarah. Slow Horses. I finished that off like last week. That was Gary Oldman. God, so I finished that off, and it was a really good. I don't want to spoil it, but there was a really good cliffhanger at the end. You probably, most people I think may pick up on the issue earlier on, but I didn't. But Slow Horses on Apple Plus, excellent.
Okay.
Cast.
It's supposed to be great. I haven't watched it yet, but I hear nothing but good things. Finish Tulsa King.
I watched one episode of Tulsa King, and it was excellent.
It's so fun. It's a little cheesy, but it's a good cheese. It's a heartfelt cheese, It's a cheese that like would have come across in the 80s with another Sylvester Stallone kind of thing.
It does have a joyous vibe to it.
Yeah, which is weird for a gritty.
Oh, it's gritty. But it's charming. It's charmingly gritty.
It is. That's a good way of saying it.
In kind of a metrosexual way.
Carry on.
Oldman is constant farting around female colleagues.
Well, you put the right smells out in the world sometimes. I love Taylor Sheridan shows. He's awesome. He really is. I really want to watch Landman Lioness right now in a big way. In February, we get more 1923, and I'm ecstatic about it.
Oh, yeah. As soon as we get offline, Landman, that's something that I want to start watching. I got around to looking at what was on Paramount that was new this last week. Add it to the list.
Anything that's Taylor Sheridan, anything that's Billy Bob Thornton as well, you can count me in. I'm there. Justin says, I think this concept, Skeleton Crew, is stupid, and I could have made this a better show that feels more Star Wars than anything in this. When everyone tells me they get a vibe of everything besides Star Wars. Is everyone Josh? I'll call it out. I don't know if everyone's anybody outside of Josh. You got to listen to more, because the rest of everybody on Star Wars Anywhere has been saying this is so Star Wars. It's awesome. We love it.
And it's Goonies, but with a Star Wars flavor.
Yeah, exactly. Case in point, like two people, and those people are both primed to already not like it. They saw Streets in the Street and were like, "Oh, it's gonna not be Star Wars." Come on.
Right. It's. So, what did can I ask? What did justify? What did you watch this week? What were your selections?
Was it outside? Goonies is not Star Wars, of course not. But that's something that Chillin loves it. Oh, good. Because it feels Star Warsy. It feels literally they're playing with lightsabers in the streets. Obviously, it's weird noises.
It's like Prodigy because it's. I think it's generally the audience is kids, not us.
I do. I mean, I think that's what they're leaning into right now. I hope it leans more into a show with kids in it. Because that's what they've kind of said. They said it does get pretty badass. And with the wolf dude and all that going on, I think it will. But yeah, no, it's inherently Star Wars. You ought to give it a try. You can't knock something until you try it. You got to try it. That's my thought, at least. But no, it feels Star Warsy. The target audience is my inner child, who's extremely excited to watch the next episode. I'm just so ready. Justin, do you like give it one more episode? They're younglings. They literally just got a Jedi on their team now. They were always going to end up being younglings. There's no way they weren't.
Yeah, and Sokar, when episode 4 came out, I was a kid. Lost my fucking mind over it too. I mean, it was. I so wanted an R2D2. I actually did start drawing schematics, and trying to find stuff. How would I do this at the local Radio Shack back when Radio Shack was a store that you could buy electronic components and build stuff. See, I was just trying to come up with an R2D2, at least something that would squeak like him and maybe, have, but no.
Yeah. Well, Jedi Jude Law is in it. Jedi, he's going to be a Jedi, ex-Jedi, whatever it is, But
we could just be force sensitive.
It would be, I think it's more of a waste of time to go complain about something you've never watched than to actually watch something that you might end up liking a lot more than you expected to. Love you, buddy, but I just, come on, dude, it's Star Wars. Give it an actual chance. Like we talked about earlier, if you watched Andor all the way through, you'd love Andor, but I know that's touchy. That's touchy. Skeleton Crew is the highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes outside of Andor. That will also be used to poo-poo it a little bit, but I think it's a great thing. I think.
Carrie Fi. Jude Law is the lead character or lead actor in this, and probably the rest of the show will be on his shoulders to pull off.
You brought up a good point earlier. I'm intrigued to see if it's going to end up being, now that we have Jude Law, if he's going to be the guy that is. And I guess the perspective we're really getting from, or if we're going to stay more in Wim's perspective. I think we'll definitely continue with Wim's perspective, but I don't know if it's going to be like a shared perspective a little bit more,
So going, since this is a Star Wars show, so who was the perspective? Was it the buddy aspect of Obi-Wan and Anakin? Because I think it could be. They're probably not force sensitive or anything, but in terms of like relationships, it could be Jude Law's, or excuse me. They maybe announced what his character's name is. I guess they have.
They did. It's like Captain. It's not Jib, but it's something like. I don't know what it's like. I don't know. It's not Jib, but it's something. I hope they make a character named Jib somewhere now.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so we have to look at what are the relationship dynamics going to be? Is it going to be more akin to Obi-Wan and Anakin, or is it going to be like an Anakin show, where we have Wim as the center of the story, or is it going to be like Wim is kind of the center, but with a sidekick of having grown-up Obi-Wan? We just don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so I did find it. It's still a weird name, but it's not Jib. It's Jod Na Wood. It's three names. It's Jod Na Wood.
I'm calling him Jib forever now. It's done. It's your fault. Oh, Ewoks did nothing wrong. What was the in Guardians of the Galaxy 3? What was the phrase that the kids were using on the ship that no one can understand? Wasn't that Jib?
Oh, it was something like that. Officially Jib. He's Jib Law now. Yeah, I can't remember the Guardians one off the top of my head, but yeah, something like that. Jib. I can't. Every time I say it, I just think of like little jibs on a sailboat. It's just like my brain's just flapping like little winds in the sail right now.
Jib. Yes, it was Jub.
Jub.
On Guardians of the Galaxy, because the kid, and it was just like friend. I think it meant friend or whatever.
Jib means cousin, actually. Jib. That means we got to have a jub and a jab. And a Jeb. Somebody, Jeb Bush, just pops out behind like a brick wall.
Oh my God! When you said that, I said, "Oh, Jeb Bush. I wonder what he's doing today."
Please clap. That was the worst political thing that's ever happened ever. Like, you don't ask for a clap. And anyway,
that boy
get into all that.
he could have used antidepressants.
After Mandalorian. Is Skeleton Crew after Mandalorian?
Yes. I do not know. Maybe? I don't know.
I believe it's taking place after season 3 of Mandalorian, but it could be taking place simultaneously or maybe right beforehand. that general times period, though, for sure. Klopp said Andor's best show after Mandalorian. Oh, shit. I think I'm behind in chat. That's a lot to think about. Lots to
So
go back.
Skeleton Crew is set in the New Republic era. It's firmly in the year 9 ABY.
Okay.
9 years after the epic battle that closed the original Star Wars film. New Hope.
After Battle Yavin. Mm-hmm. Well, we are 2 hours, 3 minutes into it. If we're kind of...
Yeah, I'm getting hoarse.
Yeah. Like, I'm totally down to keep talking about some stuff, but also I don't really know what else there is to talk about. Because we're talking about a lot of Skeleton Crew in the next few weeks.
Talked a lot of Skeleton Crew. Talked a lot of Dune. But yeah, so I recommend all the Frank Herbert prequels by Brian Herbert. Go pick one up. You can probably get a deal for them on Amazon. And if you want some really cutting sci-fi, it's all on Amazon in book form. Not
there's about 20 of them, aren't there? There's a bunch now, aren't there? The Brian Herbert.
Well, there was one. I know there was one for each house. There was a book for each house, and then there was a book for the Guild. There was for the Space Guild, the Spacing Guild. There was one for the Bene Gesserit, and there was a there's a bunch. There's a bunch.
Popcorn said Stormy's getting hoarse. I prefer beef or fish, but Stormy can eat what he likes. Yes, we are going to do Stargate Outpost this coming Wednesday. And we're thinking next Saturday was going to be our charity stream. I'd still love for it to be. I'm going to message everybody in our charity stream and try to figure out exactly when we want to do that, figure out the exact date. Sarah and Carrie are right here, so if y'all want to figure out an exact date, let's shoot for it, because the 14th or the 18th, I think, would be the most realistic. So charity stream for those. It is going to be a little bit more fun than the last one, because the last one, of course, it was an awesome charity and all that, but we were simply just watching it and, like watching SG1 best and worst episodes. We will do that again, but we'll have quizzes for all of us on screen, and that, of course, chat can keep up with, and things of the sort, and there might even be a chance that you could win an online gift card. So support the best you can, and we will hopefully support a good charity. I don't know if the floods in Spain are still going to be the ones we're going for. We might find a good Christmas charity for this month, but that is to be talked about, and keep your eyes out, and I will be posting about it in the community chat a whole bunch. So all that stuff.
Okay, so there are a shit ton of Dune books by Brian Herbert, which is the son of Frank Herbert. There was House Atreides, House Harkonnen, House Carino. Then there was the Legends of Dune series, which was the Butler and Jihad, Machine Crusade, and the Battle of Corrin. Then there was the Hunters of Dune, the Sandworms of Dune. Then there was this Heroes of Dune series where they had Paul of Dune, the Winds of Dune, Princess of Dune. Then they had and then they had like the books about the navigators and whatever. So there was the Sisterhood of Dune, which was about the Bene Gesserit, Mentats of Dune, and then there's one Navigators of Dune, which was the Spacing Guild. Then they had a whole trilogy about Caladan. So.
Because I know there's supposed to be a lot. Because Frank wrote, was it 5 total or just the 4?
Frank wrote, I thought 8. Wasn't it? Let me go look. Frank Herbert bibliography. The Dune series. So it was 7. There was Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God, Emperor of Dune, Heretics of Dune, Chapter House Dune, and then there was a short story, The Road to Dune, that he wrote. So 6 books and then a short story.
Okay.
Then he did a lot of other sci-fi and fantasy, apparently. He wrote a lot of stuff. Man, he wrote a lot of short stories. But yeah, 6 books and a short story is what Frank did. And Brian just went over the top.
Yeah. Well, because I know Brian gets a lot of crap for not being as good as his father as an author and all that. And shoot, how can you be as good as Frank Hebert? I don't think Christopher Tolkien's as good as J.R.R. Tolkien, but hey, he managed, Is part of that, it feels like just with the amount of sequels and everything he's put out, do you think part of that's just formula? It almost sounds like he's like formulating things. Oh,
well, I mean, Kevin Anderson. Not Kevin Anderson. Ryan Herbert. He's got like 17 books he's written on his own that has nothing to do with Dune or his dad.
Oh, really?
And this is all before he started writing about Dune. So he got really good. What's the earliest one? 81. I graduated from high school then, and so yeah, I mean he's written a whole bunch of books all by himself. And then he started, he was in writing for like 30 straight years and then started in on his father's prequel.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to cut it short. I am sorry. I just got a phone call. I am bringing somebody to the airport in about 15 minutes. And I kind of forgot about it until right now.
Dude, go. Y'all be good.
5 minutes away. That's good.
Thanks for having me.
But yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you, buddy.
I thought this was a fun episode. We're going to be talking a lot of Skeleton Crew, I feel like. Creature Commandos more. That I think you'll enjoy it. Check that thing out. I hate to cut it short, y'all, but I got to run. Oops. Check out Sarah and I will see y'all Wednesday for Stargate Outposts. We will either see you Saturday or the 18th, most likely. We might change it, so keep an eye out. I will keep you posted as well in the community chat on the Stargate Atlantis stream. Aw, no science talk. Not today.
Okay, David, here you go. Here's your science talk. F equals ma. Force equals mass times acceleration. There you go.
It's Stormy's like, I've been writing this down so many times this week. You can see his eyes start twitching.
Space is hard, dude. Space is hard.
Dial the gate to the airport. Trying to. All right. Well, I think that's the rest from us. You got anything else to give everybody before we hop out of here?
Love every one of you.
But yeah, I second that. We do love y'all. We will see y'all shortly. Carrie, you said you're sick. Message us. I hope you're doing all right. Or I guess if you're not doing all right, I hope you are in a place to do all right very soon.
Yeah, I thought Carrie just had like camera problems. I didn't know she was sick.
She was sick a little bit ago, and I hope this is not a continuation or remainder of that, So while it is getting cold and winter's coming and all that stuff, y'all live long, prosper, of course, and stay healthy. Get wealthy if we can. We're all trying to. And
I can make it to retirement.
I don't know if anything else rhymes with healthy and wealthy off the top of my head.
Belchy.
I was about to do a big burp, but I'm going to not do that for y'all's sake. We love y'all once again. Long outros. That's our favorite. Keep it spicy for you. And as keep it spicy.
Hang up.
The what?
Hang up, Harris. You got to go to the airport.
I know. See y'all.